unemployment, competitive marketplace, artificial intelligence that reads your resume. How does one possibly get the attention of HR these days? Well, welcome to the Military Wire with Mike Schindler. This is the podcast where we interview America's most elite men and women who have served this country. We share their stories of overcoming, their proven lessons in leadership, and their journey to finding mission and purpose. So today we're going to try to crack that code. How do you actually get the attention, grab the attention of HR? And we're going to do it with Jennifer Hellwig. She's a proud Air Force veteran who not only served in the role of Director of Education, but was also a Command First Sergeant. And she was with the Air Force Material Command. And Jennifer, now you serve in the role of Human Resource Manager for a company based out of Ohio. You've been on both sides of this issue, being hired and hiring. Excited to have you on the show. Welcome to the show, Jennifer.
Well, thank you for inviting me to the conversation, Mike. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's start with your story. I love this when somebody's been on both sides, serving now in HR, so you're hiring, but at one point you were on the other side looking to be hired. And you've got an amazing career in the Air Force. So why don't you share with our audience your background in the Air Force?
So, I've had a 28-year career, and the thing about being in the military is that you have to leave. You're not allowed to stay. So, so for the last few years of everyone's career, you start trying to figure out, what you're going to do with the rest of your life. And I don't know if I really prepared myself throughout my career, I guess, in a way, until like the last 10 years. But the first 20 so years of my career, I did a very myriad of things as an aircrew life support technician, which is basically anything that an aircrew member needs to survive in the air and on the ground in an emergency situation. We provide it. We teach them how to use it. We fix it. We troubleshoot it. All those great things. And then I then became a first sergeant. I really wanted to help take care of airmen. I wanted to be the person that could help not only help somebody through a crisis, but maybe fix some, terrible things that are going on in their lives. And I just definitely wanted to be that person that was able to kind of guide somebody through the choices in their career as well. So moving into that HR, that human resource element, I did that for the last 10 years of my career. And during that time frame, I taught at the First Sergeant Academy down in Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery, Alabama. And that's where I was the Director of Education at. And then I finished up my career as the Command First Sergeant for Air Force Material Command. So it was just a blessing to be kind of that executive type of leadership at the higher levels of the Air Force and kind of see how that 30,000 foot level works. But it was really nice that I could be able to help shape first sergeants' careers for the rest of, for the long haul and for the duration. And then I ended up becoming, their functional and mentoring them on being better HRs for their particular squadron. So it was the career was amazing. Didn't want to leave, but as you know, you have to take the uniform off.
There's an end date on every point of service. No question.
There is an absolute end date.
Yeah, there is an end date, and it can be unfortunate, but there is an end date. So did you know, it's interesting when you share your story, did you know that you wanted to go into HR? Was that, as you observed there's so many opportunities, in all the branches, but was it something that you were just drawn to, that you went, I'm going to pursue this path because of these reasons? Or was it something that you kind of fell into?
Well, so when I was a senior airman, I had a fantastic first sergeant by the name of Kevin Lynn. And he walked around with a coffee cup all day long and walked around and talked to people. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to be that person that has a chance to go chit chat with everybody all. But when the basis of that was, man, he really got to know people. And he was, I'll tell you, when something went wrong, they knew that they could trust him enough to help them through whatever, and honestly help them. If sometimes he had to say the baby was ugly, the baby was ugly, but they trusted him. And I wanted that. I knew that was definitely where I wanted to go.
Wow, I mean, it almost sounds like the chaplaincy, but without, the religious component piece to it, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's great.
yeah. That's amazing. So let's talk about your own transition because, like you said, every point of service has an end date, right? We've all got that
Mhm.
termination date. What did you notice when you were transitioning? So here you were, doing HR in the Air Force, but now you're transitioning. Now you're meeting with HR directors or HR managers. Uh, what did you notice? Was it a different world? Were the two worlds different?
Yes, the definitely the two worlds were different. I do feel that I like the way you asked that question because our human resources in the military, we are really focused on the people side of it. Basically, how can we help um, our airmen be better versions of themselves? So we get very involved in their progression and their personal growth, and then also helping them steering in the right direction. Because unfortunately, some people make some poor choices, and
Sure.
we end up steering them in the right direction. And but with that said, it was for my own transition. I've realized that it really is not like that in the civilian side of the house because there's a side of HR that we in the military relies on other people to do for us, and those are things like compensation and benefits, and those are things like the legal side of the house. Hiring and firing, right? So we, as human resource managers in the Air Force, we know the resources to reach to. And in the civilian side, you're doing all of it. So it's
Interesting.
basically so you take your personnel flight, your military personnel
Yep.
flight, you put that in your office. You take the legal office and you put that in your office. You take investigations and you put that in your office. And all the hiring and firing, you put that in your office. So AFPC, that big gigantic Air Force Personnel Center that's out there in Texas, you take that entire center and you put it in your office. So it's weird. I mean, obviously you're hiring less people, but it is weird to know that you are now responsible for all of that.
Wow. So when you interviewed, how was that experience for you?
So it was really tough because it really started with the type of resumes that I originally had. I have to tell you, I used Hire Heroes to help write my resume. So they took 28 years and they put it on two sheets of paper,
Yeah.
and they provided a very good foundation. Don't get me wrong; it was a great foundation. It was a good start. It was like where you completely have brain freeze and you cannot, right.
Yep.
Well, they got that there for me, and then I had to add or spice up some things that were really particular to the companies that I was being hired for. And so I realized at one point that, obviously I wasn't getting any phone calls back. I was submitting my resumes. I thought that I was adjusting them to a point that somebody would say, hey, she or he has what I need, right?
Yeah.
But I wasn't. I wasn't. I found a recruiter had called me and told me that they had not selected me for a position because I was not an HR for a manufacturing assembly line type of plant like Hyundai or Toyota. And that's what their plant was about. And I thought, well, so with my skills as a human resource manager in the Air Force, I am highly adaptable. And I explained to this person, understand that I have been an HR manager for civil engineers, for aircraft maintenance, for um, uh, medical, for security forces, for PAX terminal personnel. I said I have been a human resource manager for all of those, and I had to adapt to all of those environments and understand how to deliver the services that they need. And I said, and by the way, the Air Force flight line is the largest manufacturing assembly line on the planet.
Right.
So I think I pretty know. I think I know what I think I know what skills that I could bring to you. And she really couldn't say anything. She just okay. And then obviously I didn't get the job, and that's fine. But I realized that that's what my resume lacked.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I can say things like I can do this, I can do that. But if I'm looking for an HR position, I had to say who I was in HR for.
Yeah. So you're talking about really customizing your talent. I think you raise an interesting point, Jennifer, where, in the military, to your point, we are trained, certainly we have our MOSs or, our specialty trade,
Mhm.
but in some ways we can adapt uh, to whatever's at hand, right? Like I remember being on ship and on the team, and the words "not my job" never came out of my mouth, right?
Nope.
So to your point, when we're hiring, suddenly we're thinking, yeah, you know what, I could do that. Yeah, I could do that. I've had some touch points in that area too. Sure, I could do all of this.
Mhm.
And I think what you're talking about is stop doing that, but really focus, like take your skill set and hone it
Mhm.
to that
Yeah.
specific task and tell that story so that
Yeah.
because they don't know. To your point, I mean, they don't know that the Air Force has the largest assembly line in the world, right? They're like,
Right.
so you've got to be able to share that story. That's a man. That's such a good tip. That is such a good tip. Yeah.
So, and on that note too, I really felt like when I was doing my transition, and because I had started a long time out, like a lot of us, we started about a year out from our retirement. But when I started really getting into the whole resume writing and researching companies, it's almost like a full-time job because you have to understand what company you're applying for. And now that I read people's resumes every single day, I can tell when a resume is the same for every other company. Like they just shot it out and say, hey, these are my skills here,
Interesting.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like for the company I work now, they one of the products that they have worked on and projects that they have worked on is really is a battery. Okay, so if somebody's researching and they want to work for our company, and if they have experience in that in some time in their life, they better put it somewhere on their resume because then it will pique the interest of our company because they'll see it.
Yeah.
And I really feel that and when a lot of people, they'll send out 100 resumes, but all those 100 resumes say the same thing. And a company really appreciates when you've honed yourself in on what you can do for them.
Well, Jennifer, do you guys actually really read the resumes? Because we hear all this stuff like, the resumes don't even make it past AI if you don't have this, the special algorithms or the words or, I mean, is HR still reading resumes?
So in our company, we do.
Yeah.
And so it obviously depends on how large your company is. Like if you're somebody like GE or Honeywell, or that may happen, right? They'll have like a system where it goes through and it may not make it to the final spot. But for us, when you have a small business, so we're a small business contract aerospace and defense company. Uh, we go through every single one, and our hiring managers, it's because they care about who they're hiring that they take the time and they will look at every single resume. And honestly, resumes are only supposed to be 1 to 2 pages.
Yeah.
So if you have a 5 page resume, somebody is not helping you out. You need to make sure that it's short and concise, and you tailor it to the so those 5 page resumes. It's because somebody's doing a mass shootout, and they're shooting it out to as many companies as they want, and they're not honing it in. So sometimes people will scan over it, but it's too much to read. It's too much to kind of get into, and our hiring managers, they're busy,
Yeah.
right? So we do some precursor look sometimes at the resumes, and we'll let the hiring managers know, it's like, hey, are you interested in this candidate? So on and so forth. And so we work together as an HR team and the hiring managers together, that we, in our company, we look through every resume. And I'll be honest with you, your companies that are much smaller, like 500 and below, most of them are doing that as well. They're looking at the resumes.
Yeah, so that's good. So let's say the resume gets through, right? They
Mhm.
refine it, they hone it, they grab your attention, right? Because we're talking about
Right.
grabbing your attention, and they're grabbing your attention because
Mhm.
they were specific and said, "Listen, I can help you
Mhm.
solve this problem." Essentially, is what they're saying,
Right.
right? I've got the skill, the
Right.
expertise, the background to help you solve this problem that I know you're looking to solve. So they get into your office. How should they sell themselves to you? Because we hear this on the front lines all the time. Like, yeah, we love interviewing veterans. We want to hire them, but it's yes sir, no sir. yes, ma'am, no, ma'am,
Mhm.
one answer questions. Like
Mm.
how do they sell themselves? What do you recommend they do when they come into the office and okay, now I've got an audience with Jennifer. How do I sell myself to you?
Well, first off, relax.
Yeah.
That's number one. I know it's hard,
Yep.
right? I get it. And then don't take your rank in there with you.
Oh,
So
good. Yeah.
I'm telling you, there's so many times I think that, and even I felt it too. Like the very first interview I went on, the person knew me and knew me very well and knew my capabilities and knew what I could bring to the table. And I felt like I went in there with my rank, even though I was in civilian clothes. So I also I would also say to be prepared for different types of interviews because 90% of your first interviews are going to be over the phone. And so I would say when you're having a conversation with a prospective employer, make sure that there's as little distractions as possible because it's also distracting to us. Because when we're trying to, like, I was interviewing somebody, uh, I was doing a phone interview a few weeks ago, and they were moving so many papers around, like I felt like they were literally moving boxes, and it stopped me. And I said, is this a good time? Oh, I know, I'm just trying to get some stuff squared away here. And I felt like, are you paying attention?
Interesting.
Are you seriously paying attention? So there's another thing too. So I think that veterans, the reason why we're short answered and the reason why we're very yes or no sir, is because we have learned that when somebody's having a conversation with you, or that you have to be, eyes on, locked on target, and you're showing respect. And so we get very stiff at times. And like I think you've probably heard the analogy when we're getting ready to go up to the board, to for promotion or for to get an award of some sort, you got to sit at attention,
Yep.
right?
That's
So
right.
that's our train. So, first thing is just completely relax, and then don't take your rank in there with you, and then understand that they respect you already. They respect what you've done. They know that you're wearing the fabric of your nation, and they already respect you. You don't have to prove it. So I would say you just have to learn to have longer conversations than yes, sir, and no, sir. And be prepared with examples of how you have led through uh, conflict. If you had a conflict with a team, always have a story prepared for that. If you're struggling to find a story in that interview, then that shows that you are just a person that was told what to do, because they will get in a mindset, oh, they were just told what to do in the military. They never really led
Ah,
anything.
that's good.
So
Yeah.
you have to be prepared with stories. You have to, and that was really good advice for me when I was in my TAP class, my transition assistance program class. They said, make sure you have, conflict resolution stories. Make sure you have leadership stories. When you had to possibly let somebody go, which obviously with First Sergeant World, we live a lot of that, right? When have you had to discipline somebody? When have you been able to carry a team through a project, and what was the result of that project? Did you think of a time when you may not have handled a situation very well, and what did you do to correct it? You have to think of all of those. And many of these types of questions, if you pay attention in the TAP class, they'll tell you what to prepare yourself for. If you come prepared, you're going to have plenty of stories to talk about, and you won't be stiff saying yes, sir, no, ma'am, type of thing.
Yes. Yeah. I love this. I mean, what I love is you're talking about how you effectively not only get the attention, but how you effectively win over the interview. And
Right.
and I think that's such a component that we sometimes miss is we're so
Mhm.
focused on, okay, I got to get the interview. And then they get through the interview and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I even tripped over myself on this thing. So I think it's such great advice on
Right.
that. Let's talk about your company a little
Mhm.
bit. If you're open to doing that,
Mhm.
air
Yes.
defense company, talk to us a little bit about that, who you look for if you guys in fact are hiring.
Yes, absolutely. So, for our listeners, I'm actually a human resource manager for two different companies. Right now, I'm was hired by the parent company of the affiliate, and we also do HR for two companies. So I'll talk to you a little bit about both of those companies. And the first one is Cornerstone Research Group here in Miamisburg, Ohio. They're a high technology company that deliver products and services to, the aerospace industry and aerospace and defense industry. And I tell you, uh, basically, it's what's amazing about this company is they solve problems where other people are struggling or cannot figure it out.
Mm,
I think I'm amazed when I hear about the engineering platforms that they have designed, the problems that they have solved for, the government. They don't work just for the Air Force; they work for the government, and they come up with the most amazing um, problem solving products at the end of their projects that they've ended up starting different affiliate companies because of that, because those things can also be used in the civilian market. So they are currently hiring all gamuts of engineer, if you could say. So we have RF engineer advertised, we have mechanical engineer advertised, we have research engineer, which is they do more of an applied engineering type of, they fix things that are already
mm,
problems, right? And then we have artificial intelligence and machine learning personnel that are there. We need aerospace engineers, design engineers, electrical engineers. We need entry level chemists. We need high temperature composite engineers and prototype technicians, software engineers. We are growing so rapidly that we want to make sure that we can deliver the products that we need to deliver for our aerospace partners. And so we are on a mass, I would say, just on a rapidly growing hiring phase, which is extremely exciting for us. So I've learned more about the company in the last 2 months. It's been amazing. So they're a fantastic research and development atmosphere, and the culture there for me. And I'll explain a little bit why I chose CRG. Um, so I was very fearful when I left the military that I was not going to find the teamwork nor the atmosphere where I felt like my opinion mattered. I was fearful that I wasn't going to be valued, and I felt, here I am. I'm getting ready to leave this organization where we throw people from all over the world, all over the planet, every race, color, creed, nationality, gender, and we put them all in one shop and we expect them to figure it out and
mm.
complete a mission. And we do it. And I love that
Yeah.
about the military. I just think that's the most amazing thing. And I was petrified that I was never going to find anything close to that when I left the military. So I was very particular when I looked for jobs. I I only searched out the things that were interesting. I searched out things that were close to home. And by the grace of God, I found CRG, and they have this collaborative, welcoming, inviting nature to all things engineer. It's really amazing to watch how these folks figure things out. And I love the fact that they like to bring us all into that as well and kind of
Well, it
make us
sounds like
part of the
there's an
team.
op tempo in
So
that
I'm very
company too, because you're trying to solve problems that haven't been solved. So it almost, in some ways, felt
right.
like a startup environment, like an incubator of engineers that are trying to solve these amazing. I mean, it's just weird to say incubators of
Yeah.
engineers too, because engineers all
Right.
in one room seems a little odd to me. Uh, but that
Great.
being said, I mean,
Mhm.
I love this. I mean, if I had any engineering skill, I mean, I think the only engineering I could bring is maybe domestic engineering to that firm. But right,
Right.
but I love.
Right.
So what I'm hearing you say, Jennifer, is you found almost that one team, one fight, that one team, one dream atmosphere inside this company. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, that is such a great way to put it, because this company, they've been around for 20 plus years, and they've just, I'll tell you, they are a staple in aerospace and defense. And they've won, when it works awards like 8 years straight. They've just done this. They just put this. Everybody has the same purpose, and that was another thing too. I just wanted to make sure I had purpose, because every single day when you wake up in the Air Force, you put the uniform on, the fabric of your nation on. It's like, hey, there's purpose. It's just you get to wear it every single day. And I feel just in the short time that I've been there, that there is definitely a purpose. You just get excited about what they can do for, the warfighter. They're protecting the warfighter. They're making sure that our airmen, our soldiers, our seamen, and our Marines are fully protected in whatever
No,
environment that they need. So it's
that's
been a
awesome. Well, how do
wonderful
they find
experience.
you? How did,
And
because we're coming up on the hour, and I want people to be able to find
right.
you and get in touch with you or your company. How do
Mhm.
they do that?
Okay, so it's crgrp.com is the first company that I work for, and is I told you, they have an affiliate company because this was actually a spinoff. It was something that was developed as they were trying to solve problems, and it turns out that they have this type of atmosphere can work into the civilian market, and so they spun off an affiliate company called Advantic. And so Advantic is also looking for carpenters. They're currently looking for a director of production. They're looking for senior structural engineer, and they're looking for structural engineers. So what Advantic does is they basically take their design, fabricate, and build company, and they just they use advanced materials that build revolutionary type structures, and it's really kind of a uh, they take FRP, which is a fiberglass type product, which is about as strong as steel, but much, much lighter. And they condense timeframes on how long it takes to build. Let's say you're going to build a structure for, part of a warehouse, right? Let's say it's like some type of mezzanine. Well, they can condense those timeframes because their product is much lighter, and it obviously lasts a lot longer. But their website is Advantic LLC.com. So ADVANTIC LLC.com. And they are located in Kettering, Ohio. Soon to be, they are also growing exponentially. And they are going to be moving also to Miamisburg because they need a bigger facility because they're just growing so fast. They need to more space. So both companies are growing exponentially, and we need engineers. We need all types of folks, but they're both great places to work. And I am just excited that you called me today to be able to
Yeah,
talk a little bit
absolutely. Well,
about
Jennifer,
them.
it's been a pleasure having you on this show, and for our audience, now they know how to get a hold of you. And be sure to look Jennifer up on LinkedIn too. For those of you who are interested in this field, be sure you visit those websites, advanticllc.com. And then Jennifer, what's the other one? It's CRG. Okay, perfect. And
CRGRP.com.
so those of you that are looking, who are interested in discovering your post-service identity, prepare, plan, and execute on your best year ever, be sure you reach out to us at Operation Military Family. DM me. Jennifer, thanks for being on the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Mike.